This is going to be a quick tutorial where we 3D model this NeoPixel shield. The benefit to having 3D models when you're building Arduino parts is that you can have a scale representation of how they would fit together, and it helps you for spatial planning. And if you need to make an encasement for them, you can then 3D model one and then 3D print it, and then you know it'll fit in properly. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a look at all these pictures, and I'm going to save this. So now let's go and take a look at what size it is. If we go down to the technical details, we can see that it is 2.1 inches. Okay. So I really like to work with a double screen, so I'm going to go to Realistic, Configure, and Layout, and then I'm going to select this and hit OK, and it's going to jump me to 2 screens instead of 4. Now I'm going to go to Customize, Unit Setup, and I'm just going to double check that I'm with feet and decimal inches. So now we're going to make a plane. I'm going to do it in the top-down perspective. If your viewport is not in top-down, press T for that. I'm going to make a box. Oh, that made a plane. My bad. Let's make a box. It doesn't matter what size it is. We're just going to put the numbers in. So 2.1 by 2.7. I hit Control V to zoom extends all, and I'm going to right click scale and move, and I'm going to right click all of these to, when you right click any slider, it makes it 0. And then we're just going to check height, it's 0.12. Okay, so I'm going to name this. This is going to be our NeoPixel shield. Now I'm going to right-click box and convert to editable poly. And now if we go to realistic by right-clicking on wireframe, I'm going to hold down Alt and hit middle mouse button to scroll around to look at it. This is approximately, or not approximately, it's exactly what size the physical object will be. Now we're going to put this texture on it. So we saved that to the desktop. I'm going to hit M. That's going to open our material editor. Now each one of, this is a shader, it sits on the object, and all of these properties define how the shader looks. Up here, this button will even tell you what kind of shader you want to choose from, but for now we're just going to stick with standard. Your diffuse value is going to be the color or the texture that you're putting on the object. So if you see, if we change this to red, then that updates here. And if we want to apply it to this object, then we hit this button, which is Assign Material to Selection. And now if we change our diffuse, that'll update in real time. So I'm going to hit this box next to diffuse, and you can choose a number of things here to put on the object that are customs, but I'm just going to choose bitmap. We're going to go to desktop where we saved our image. I'm going to select that. Now, what this is a subdialog. So if you say go to parent, it'll go up one. So this is nested under diffuse, so it's one level under. So now this is all the information for that texture, and to go back up goes back to this main level. This show shaded material in viewport means that we're going to see that in actual space. If we go under inner texture, there's a number of settings that you can mess around with. But for now, you can just leave that alone. So now, the texture doesn't actually fit on here, and that is mirrored by the fact that it's, that's what the image looks like. If you look at the on the desktop, but we don't want that. So let's go to our modifier list with this selected, and we're going to go to unwrap. So I jumped down there by starting to type the word unwrap UVW. UVWs are coordinates on a physical object which let the object know how the texture is supposed to lie on top of it. So if we click Open UV Editor, so if we want to look at the texture that's on here, make sure this box is selected and go to checker pattern and change it to Adafruit. Now this is the image that's going to be shown on the faces, and if we click this little box next to Unwrap UVW and go to Polygon and select it, then that will correspond with what we see here. For right now, the way this is mapping is they're all just flat. So if we wanted it to be different, we might select the one polygon and either right click and break it off so it's separated from the rest, and then we could maybe go in here and box map it, or throw one of these projections on here. So what's happening right now is that the planar map is on, and you can see this little yellow line is showing up. So that's going to be projecting the alignment of the vertices in a top-down position. So now, instead of, if we undo the horizontal planar thing, if we look at the way these are, the bottom plane lines up perfectly here, but these side planes are stretched to nothing in that axis. So if we were to just take this edge and make sure that we're only selecting that one, and then move it down, then suddenly that map here would correspond with that. And if we selected the two of these and move these up, so if we move this to the edge and then this to the bottom here, then we would have some sort of texture along here. If we take this one and move it to the edge of the chip, then we're going to get some nice aligning going on. This is just to show you the general theoretical concept. It honestly probably doesn't matter for what you're doing. I only put the chip on there so we could line up the board. But just good thing to know. So what we really care about is this top face. So I'm going to bring it down here, and I'm going to move it directly over the chipboard. And then if this is selected freeform mode, then we can just grab it like it's the transform tool in Photoshop and stretch it out over here. And now this will line up with the chipboard as it should. So I'm going to right click on that and collapse all. It's going to give me a warning, and I'm going to say yes. Now we're going to go to a top-down view with this. I'm going to hit Control V to zoom extends all. And I'm going to hit this button at the very right bottom corner called Maximize Viewport Toggle to make it the biggest image on the screen. And I'm going to, or the only active window. And I'm going to close the material editor. So now we are going to make these little boxes. So let's just do that real quick. Now I'm going to turn on snaps. I did that with Control B because that's what it's set to, but it snaps is right here. And I'm going to make sure Z is selected, and I'm going to grab this bottom edge and snap it to the top edge here so that it's lined up. Another way that you can do that is if we're in our top-down view, I go to Box and I select Auto Grid, and then it'll just draw directly onto this object. So let's take a look at the size. It looks like it's perfectly even, so let's set this at 0.2 inches, 0.2 inches, And I don't know how tall we want it, but that's fine for approximation. Now I hit T and Control V to go to top view and then zoom extends all. Now I want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more. So one trick is I'm going to hit Shift and drag this over, and that'll make a copy. And then it'll say clone, and it'll give me an option box. I want copy, or actually we could probably do instance. And number of copies, I'm going to want 7. So if I hit that, then it'll space them all the same distance that I just dragged that one out at. So now they're spread perfectly. And actually, I don't want instances, so I'm going to do that again and make it a copy. Seven, and copy. Make sure that it spatially went. I'm going to select all of those by dragging my marquee across, and the window's crossing the boxes on the inside, so it only selected things that were on the inside, but if it also selected your outer box, just hit Alt and click the outer box to deselect that one thing. Now we're going to do that moving in the vertical axis, so we want 1, 2, 3, 4 more. So holding down Shift, dragging down, make sure they're a copy. Good. Now, let's hide this with Control H. I'm going to right click on this and convert to editable poly. I'm going to hit attach, which is right here. And actually, I want to attach all of these, so I'm just going to hit the dialog box next to this and select all of these things, which are all the visible elements, and hit attach, and now they automatically all attached. Let's unhide all, and now I want the same texture applied to this. So I'm going to hit M to open up Material Editor. I'm going to apply this to that, and now I'm going to say UVW map. Before we did unwrap, now we're just going to project it. Planar, and then alignment will align in what axes this is. So this is the X. This is Y, this is Z. Z is the one we want. And we want to scale this up. So I'm going to click on UVW map so that either it's blue, or I'm going to undo the toggle thing and I'm going to select gizmo. And I'm going to start scaling this up until these white pieces are matching. And if that's not accurate enough, which I don't think it is, I'm going to right click on Select Scale Uniform. I'm going to drag down until it's this guy, so that I can have access to individual axes, and I'm just going to drag until that looks right to me. Let's see. The other option is we can do it the same way we did it before, where we do unwrap UVW, and then you'll have an image to line it up against. I'm going to right click and collapse all. And now if I want an approximate idea of where the pins are, then you can either make little physical, I don't think you even really need to model that in, because they're visually on the board for you. So that is a really dirty, quick, and simple way to get approximate sizing of what this is going to be like, so that you can get some spatial awareness with your project.